Hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have a really exciting schedule. We're going to start off with a special message from the chair of the Senate Small Business and Entrepreneurship Committee, Senator Ben Cardin. And then we will move into a policy framework and a bit of context from Didier Trinh, who is the Government Affairs Director for the Main Street Alliance, followed by Annie Sartor, the business director for PL+US or Plus, who's going to give a bit of a wrap up of a lot of the momentum around this topic from the business community over the past week and moving forward. And then we'll move into a second part of our program, which will include personal stories from 3 small business owners across the country, from Arizona to West Virginia to Maryland. We're hearing, a lot of ways that a lack of a national policy is impacting small businesses, and we'll introduce them one-on-one. After that, we will open it up for questions. And for anyone watching the recording later, you can email me. I'm the communications director at Main Street Alliance with any follow-up questions, and I'd be happy to introduce any of these amazing speakers today for follow-up interviews. And you can reach me at sarah@mainstreetalliance.org. That's Sarah, SARAH at mainstreetalliance.org. And with that said, we're going to start with a special message from Senator Cardin.
Hello, I'm Senator Ben Cardin from Maryland. The COVID-19 pandemic devastated our small businesses, and it shined a bright light on the need for a national paid leave policy to support these entrepreneurs and small businesses. It is painfully obvious that a national paid leave policy is a necessity in the 21st century, and it will only become more important as millions of workers are sandwiched between caring for their children as well as aging loved ones in the coming decades. A national paid leave policy is needed to maintain a competitive workforce. Studies have shown that paid leave improves worker retention, increases productivity, and increases employee morale. A national paid leave policy will also help maintain a thriving small business sector. Small businesses drive innovation and job growth in our economy, but without a national paid leave policy, it is harder for them to compete with wealthy corporations. Unlike large companies that have access to large sums of capital and equally large cash reserves, small businesses operate on a razor-thin margin that makes it difficult for them to provide paid leave on their own. So it's up to Congress to level the playing field for small businesses by passing legislation to provide paid leave for all. The month and years ahead present us with a once-in-a-generation opportunity to reshape our economy and to make it fairer and more equitable. It would be a shame to squander this opportunity. It's time for Congress to enact a national paid leave policy. It's good for workers and it's good for business.
Thanks all. And for those joining a little bit later, we can replay our special message from Senator Cardin at the end again as well. And with that, I will turn it over to Didier Trinh from the Main Street Alliance. Thanks, Didier.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. Main Street Alliance is calling on Congress to make a robust public investment in the care infrastructure of our economy and our country, including paid family and medical leave, as has been outlined in the Biden-Harris administration's American Jobs and Families plans. The United States incredulously remains one of the few countries in the world that still doesn't guarantee paid leave. With the ongoing pandemic and Main Street still on the path to recovery, paid leave is not an extra. It is an essential must-have to the survival of our country's 30 million small businesses and to the health of small business owners, employees, and customers alike. We would now like to share the results of a POP survey we conducted of our membership over late June regarding the care infrastructure. We had over 100 respondents with 15 industries represented and 6 size levels, the majority being businesses with 20 or fewer employees. Here are some highlights. 87% of respondents indicated they faced one or more challenges due to a lack of a paid leave program that covers small businesses. The most common challenges were as follows. 50% of respondents identified competition with larger corporations for recruitment. 47% said employee morale or stress, and 38% highlighted hiring and retaining staff. Of interest, 22% noted young people leaving as a challenge in their area. When faced with the reality of the number of women leaving the workforce this year and asked what policies would support hiring and retaining women workers, 89% supported investments in childcare, 75% supported a paid leave program, and 60% supported minimum wage increases. Also of note, the most common other answer was healthcare related. 63% of respondents said investment in our care infrastructure was equally as or more important than investment in traditional infrastructure to support their businesses. Overall, 88% support paid leave. That number increased even further to 91% when tied to a statement stating the program would be paid for, quote, by a tax increase on the wealthy and large corporations so they pay their fair share, end quote. 90% of respondents overall support investments in childcare. That number also increased to 92% when tied to the same statement about tax increases for the wealthy and large corporations. When posed with the following two opposing statements, 82% of respondents supported this statement, quote, a national paid leave program would set America up to recover from this recession. It would also take the financial burden off of my small business, saving money on employee turnover, retaining good workers, and revitalizing America's Main Street, end quote. Only 7% supported this statement, quote, businesses should be able to allocate resources to paid leave that are suited to their workforce. Instead, this plan puts government in charge and taxes people so much that businesses can't provide high wages or good benefits that suit their workers, end quote. So again, a very stark difference, 82% supporting the first statement, only 7% supporting the latter. Lastly, when asked about how a lack of a robust national paid leave policy has personally affected them or their families, 63% of respondents indicated at least some challenges, and 41% said it was very hard or even, quote, the most challenging year ever. In closing, small businesses are encouraged by the step towards critical investment in our roads, bridges, and broadband networks, which will support entrepreneurs across the country. But we know these aren't the only critical needs for small businesses. Investment in our care infrastructure, including a comprehensive paid family and medical leave program, as well as affordable quality childcare, must move in tandem with physical infrastructure. One without the other will preclude an equitable or sustainable recovery, keeping small businesses at a competitive disadvantage with bigger companies. The same goes for a tax system heavily skewed towards large corporations and the very wealthy who aren't paying their fair share in contributing to public investments like paid leave that are needed for vibrant communities. The COVID pandemic exposed longstanding inequalities in small business lending, support, and growth. Small businesses are watching closely to make sure both parts of the president's Build Back Better agenda are moving forward in unison in whatever ways possible to ensure any investments in our economy are truly investments in an equitable recovery and future. Thank you.
Thank you, Didier. And we'll move to Annie from Plus.
Hi there, I'm Annie Sartor, Director of Business Partnerships with Paid Leave for the US, Plus. Thank you for having me this morning. Last week, Plus teamed up with the Main Street Alliance, National Partnership for Women and Families, Time's Up, Paid Leave for All, and Small Business for Paid Leave to put together a Businesses for Paid Leave Week of Action. During this week-long virtual fly-in event, we had executives from Airbnb, Stitch Fix, Patagonia, Salesforce, and 35 other large and small businesses meet directly with key members of Congress to discuss why paid leave is key to this country's economic recovery and long-term growth. Businesses and business leaders are also using their voices and platforms to continue the drumbeat of public support for paid leave. And brands like Babylist and Hello Bello are activating their audiences in support of paid leave. Thanks in part to those activations, so far to date, we have people from all 50 states that have sent more than 45,000 emails urging their members of Congress to pass a comprehensive national paid family leave policy, like the one put forward in President Biden's American Families Plan. We also have had business leaders speak out in the media in support of paid leave as a part of the Week of Action. And lead up to the week, small business leaders in New Hampshire and Arizona, like the business leaders we're hearing from on this call today, published op-eds in support of paid leave in their local papers. And the week concluded with White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki, Rent the Runway CEO Jennifer Hyman, and Alexis Ohanian, founder of 776 and former executive chair of Reddit, joined Vanity Fair's Inside the Hive podcast to talk about the business community's broad support for paid leave. And this is in addition to coverage that we had in The Hill and Politico about the Week of Action itself. So during last week's Businesses for Paid Leave Week of Action, we saw businesses, small and large, located in large cities and rural areas all across the country, deliver a powerful message about the business community's support for paid family and medical leave. And we're excited to continue to working with them to ensure that business voices supportive of paid leave are heard in Washington as historic paid leave legislation makes its way to the president's desk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Annie. A lot of momentum building and really exciting to be a part of it. We're going to hear from 3 small business owners today about their personal challenges with the lack of a paid leave program, a national paid leave program here. And at first, I want to introduce Kate Pacelli, who is the owner of Farmer's Daughter in Cambridge, West Virginia.
Hi, I'm Kate Pacelli and I own Farmer's Daughter Market and Butcher. We're in the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia and Cape and Bridge. We opened Farmer's Daughter 6 years ago when my first daughter was 4 weeks old. And then a few years ago, my other daughter was born and I wasn't able to take any paid leave off. My husband took a long weekend off for each of them and that was really tough. As a micro business, we only have 4 employees and then my husband and myself. Any benefits that we want to offer will come directly out of our pocket. And we're also a micro business with highly skilled labor. So it's not so easy to grant extended time off or really get substitute workers that have had the proper training. Retention of these employees matters so much to us. We spent years training them. And when they leave, we've had employees leave for larger companies that we can't match their pay or their benefits. It really hurts. We had an employee with a back injury recently, and even after many attempts to have him stay home and properly heal, and we couldn't pay for such an extended time off, and he didn't want to lose the hours, he stayed at work. And so we modified his workload, but we're still paying full pay, and that comes right up out of our pocket. We really want our employees to feel taken care of and not be afraid to take time off or lose these wages. And butchering is an extremely labor-intensive skill. It's hard on your hands, hard on your body, and it's just necessary to take time off. We have a lot of employees with children, and childcare is an issue, and taking family time off is not so easy, especially when we have such a small crew. Most of our employees have Medicaid, and that doesn't really cover all of their medical costs that they need. And we want to feel competitive with larger businesses. We would love to be able to offer better benefits, dental, things like that, and recruit more people and young people to our area. It's difficult in a rural area to have a small business in general. And then when we can't offer those things that larger companies can offer, it's difficult to recruit new employees. More paid leave support would also help West Virginia's economy. In fact, investments in the care economy, paid leave, and childcare outlined by Biden's Americans Families Plan would mean over 118,000 new jobs in West Virginia, and increased care wages would mean more spending in small businesses like ours. Female workers have been really hit hard by COVID, as everyone knows, and women's share of the West Virginia workforce dropped by 1.3% last year. Because women make up a majority of care economy workers, this investment will help create jobs for women and reverse the economic damage of the pandemic. Having support with providing our employees with paid leave would really extend the life of our workforce and better their spirits after this last year. Working face-to-face with the public and being essential workers has really taken a toll on mental health and patients and everything. And mental health and family time off of work is needed now more than ever for frontline workers.
Thanks so much, Kate. And with that, we will move to Portia Jones out in Phoenix, Arizona, the co-owner of Skillz Salon, as well as founder of So Damn Good Cuisine.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Portia Jones, and I am the co-owner of Skillz and the founder of So Damn Good Cuisine in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm a salon owner. I run a catering business. I go to school. I'm a business student as well. I am a mother of 6 children, one of which is a special needs child. My son has Down syndrome and was high risk during this whole COVID situation. He had open heart surgery at 10 months. So any little respiratory infection is definitely an issue and much more intense. So his medical situation caused an issue with COVID because every little cough and things he had to come out of school. So I was off of work. In November, my brother was diagnosed with COVID. My mother lives with my brother. She was diagnosed with COVID. And I have a sister as well who lived here, but we're a very small family. So I am the one who was the caretaker. So now that's added to one of the hats that I have to wear on top of being the caretaker of my own home. While they were quarantined and recovered, I had to go to the grocery store, run errands, drugstore for a whole month while they were sick. I could barely step foot in my salon. Like I could probably say maybe once a month, maybe twice, maybe once every 2 weeks. So being in attendance was hard, and it took a very big hit on my business. I ended up having to let 2 of my employees go, and their direct issue was caused by the daycare issue as well. They have to bring their kids to work with them, and then it became an issue when we tried to grow, our employees. On top of that, my catering company, it went from small profit to 0 profit in like a day, because, for a minute, a lot of people weren't taking COVID serious, but it was like all of a sudden, okay, shut everything down and you can't do this, can't do that. And with a home-based business, can't do anything. With my kids in daycare and then getting sick, I definitely can't be serving people from my home-based business with COVID going around. So that was a screeching halt. I worked and I tried to, help and make everything, stronger and keep everybody together. And my budget shrank, my responsibilities grew. I didn't know what to do. It was definitely something that made me think if I could have some type of pay, that would be a cushion and it would leave the stress from that, and I could take care of my family. It wouldn't be such a burden on me because I'm figuring out everything. Looking back, a pay leave policy would definitely have made a big difference in that respect, because I wouldn't have had to still try to figure out how to work, run my business over here and rebuild the catering business. Nobody should have to choose between caring for their loved one and their livelihood, because they're one and the same. When I started my business at the salon, we knew that it would be a short start. You know, we knew that it would take a while for us to get employees that would work full time, but it's been over a year now. We're still in the same situation because families are still having the same issue. My experience, I've learned that in states that have paid leave, it hasn't been burdensome to their business. And in an industry like salons, where many salons are independent contractors, we can't leave out silver priority in any plan. And where I live, we need it. Women make up nearly half of Arizona's labor force and more than 1/4 of business owners. In my experience, I saw all around me wasn't unique. Women, especially Black and Latin women, and APPI and Native American mothers were hit hardest in this pandemic closures and working in most effective industries and bearing the brunt of the increased caregiving without schools or childcare. It was harder for me because I dealt with all of the issues together. My business plus childcare plus medical. It was harder for me too because I am also on Medicare because of the lack of income. So the things that are covered in insurance, like from a bigger company, they don't cover for me. So if I have medical issues with my teeth, all of that comes out of my pocket. I can't offer employees anything in my catering business because I don't have a plan. There isn't anything that applies to them that is an incentive to make them want to work for me, especially after the pandemic. We all are like, okay, medical is something that's very important, and paid leave is something that is very important. So at the end of 2020, Arizona's labor force had lost 19,000 workers, and nearly 5 times as many women were unemployed compared to the year earlier. Those numbers are shocking and worse. They are very unnecessary. I became unemployed during this whole pandemic, almost like, even though I own businesses, I had 0 income. Paid leave must be a part of the economic recovery from the pandemic. Paid leave has to be a part of the economic and job legislations, and it has to happen now. This year, otherwise, the recovery won't include people like me. Now or in the future, this is the opportunity to support small businesses, to make it easier for people like me in Arizona and all over the country to start small businesses that thrive, and to make caring for our families possible too. It's a win-win, and so no wonder 70% of small business owners support it. When something's win-win, that's where you put your money. Let's get paid leave passed now, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Portia. I think one of the most salient things, brought up here is not only were you running your businesses, but you were also a caregiver yourself. And I think that's so important to highlight, especially as many times small business owners, not only do they need this for their employees, but they need it for themselves, especially sole proprietors as well. With that, we'll move to Aaron Seyedian, owner of Well-Paid Maids in Maryland.
Hello, folks. Yes, this is Aaron Seyedian. I'm the owner of Well-Paid Maids. It's a living wage home cleaning company that operates in the DC area. I have 16 employees, and we've been in business since 2017. I support paid leave because I acknowledge reality. People get sick, they have babies, people in their family fall ill or get injured, and it's impossible to operate a business without acknowledging those realities. So, that's the reason why I'm such a big supporter of paid leave, and I'm hopeful that it'll be included in any kind of future infrastructure bill. But the other reason that I know that a public paid leave program federally is going to be a big winner is that, I've lived it. My business has undergone a transformation in miniature that I think really shows a lot of promise and potential and illustrates that a national paid leave program is going to be really fantastic for businesses, especially small businesses. And so I say that because, when I started my business, we're a high road employer. We pay living wage. We offer a full benefits package. One thing I wanted to do was offer short-term disability to all my employees. So when I started the business around 4 years ago, I made sure that we had a short-term disability plan in place to cover folks for maternity leave, as well as personal illnesses or injuries that lasted, more than a few days, more than we could afford to cover with just regular old sick leave. And so a big reason I did that, by the way, is because in my own life, I was out of work once for 7 months with an injury. And so, I know what it's like. I know how useful it is to have that backstop. I wanted to make sure my employees had access to the same thing as well. But like Senator Cardin was mentioning in his message, there aren't good private sector solutions to the problem of long-term absences related to care and recovery that are out there available in the private market. And so, I called up my insurance broker. I said I wanted to offer short-term disability plan to my employees. I said, you're too small. So I had to just go to Aflac, just like any regular person off the street, to just buy short-term disability insurance for all my employees. And so I couldn't get the kind of negotiated rates that a larger business would get if they're kind of adding different things to their insurance policies. So it was difficult to buy. And it was also costly to buy short-term disability insurance. I paid around $66 per month per employee. And at the end of the day, all it covered was maternity leave and absences for an employee's own illness or injury. And so, when we talk about a national paid leave program that would include for things like family leave, include for things like paternity leave, clearly what was offered to me on the private market was much skimpier than that. And at the end of the day, me and my employees, we were dealing with an insurance company who was motivated by profit and motivated by wanting to deny claims. And so, I had an employee that, she was expecting to take maternity leave through this private policy. I was expecting her to take maternity leave through this private policy. We come to find out when she goes to apply for it, based on the backdating of when she became pregnant, she was pregnant before we hired her, and it rendered her ineligible for paid leave through that private policy. So that's just one illustration of how incomplete, short-term disability insurance is, for example, as a solution to the problem of needing longer-term absences to take care of yourself and take care of others. So, luckily, happily, last summer, Washington, D.C., the council enacted a public paid leave program, public social insurance program that operates we operate in the Washington area. We pay into DC unemployment. Now we pay into this public plan as well. And all my employees are now covered by that. And it's phenomenal. I pay a third of the cost. I was paying $66 a head before. Now I pay $22 per person a month. And it's better coverage with better wage replacement. So people can take time off for family leave. They can take time off if they're a new father, for example, or if there's an adopted child. And the wage replacement is 80% instead of 60 or 66% that I was getting through the private market. And so it's better coverage at lower cost. What more can you ask for as a business owner? And on top of all of that, I don't have to administer anything. It comes through our payroll taxes. I barely feel it. It's like 0.7%, again, less than I was paying for this as a private product. And it just works. And so, based on that experience, based on my experience with emergency paid leave through the various COVID bills, giving folks time off when they've had exposures to COVID or they themselves were sick with COVID. In my view, it's so obvious why we need a public paid leave program, a federal paid leave program. This stuff is table stakes, or it should be. It's an enabler. It lets us actually do our job. It's clearly infrastructure in my view, and I'm really hopeful that it can be a part of any upcoming package. So thank you, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Erin and Portia and Kate, for sharing your personal experiences with this issue. And thank you to Didier and Annie for giving us a bit of context. Again, if you're watching this recording, you can follow up with me. I'm the communications director for Main Street Alliance. For any follow-up interviews, for any of the stories or policy pieces that you've heard here, you can reach me at Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, at mainstreetalliance.org. And I really appreciate everyone's time for sharing today, and thank you so much.